I'm no different than any other Japanese-American person here in Los Angeles. Work as an artist, run errands, and I pay my bills, just like everyone else. But sometimes, when the day is done and the opportunity arises, I open my secret little restaurant. It's there I discover who I truly am, one dish at a time. I call that place the Shokudo. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shokudo. Now, if you know me, you know that I like to draw. But I didn't know that being an artist I thought it was just a Jon thing, but it's actually a Okeya family thing. We were all given this path because of things that happened to us, and because of things that we did. And I wouldn't have known any of this if I didn't sit down with my dad, with a beer in my hand, and start asking questions about my grandparents, Sue and Hide Okeya. Nice to see you guys. I made you all of this stuff for you. So, what we have, I'm gonna go around the table. We have grilled shishito peppers over there. I salted them. Then we have yakitori over here. And then over here we have teriyaki salmon. And then over here I have very simply, I didn't make this, sausages. I'm gonna keep it honest because I don't wanna take credit for that. We got a salad over here. Then we have grilled eggplant. Oh god, I made a lot. Then we have grilled saba, and then we have ohitashi, spinach ohitashi, and then last thing is tsunamono. Yeah, and some rice crackers. So that's everything. I wanted to prepare this for you guys because I haven't seen you in a long time. To keep going with it, I was anxious. So this is like, hey, I haven't seen you, Auntie Betty. Here's some food. Let's be friends again.
Okay.
Or
Again?
Let's be friends because we were friends, and now let's rekindle the friendship.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, grilled saba. What's special about this is I grilled it on binchotan. Usually it's just charcoal, but I used fancy schmancy Japanese charcoal for this one.
Ooh, that takes a long time. Oh my god, the skin is so good. Oh my god.
You're not just hyping me up, right? She's not hyping me up.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Thank goodness. You guys are here because I wanted to talk about a story I heard not too long ago by my father. Thanks, Dad. So it's a story that talks about your dad, my grandpa, ran a grocery store. Managed a grocery store. Knew a lot about produce, but he had dreams of becoming an animator, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Disney, right, wanted to hire him. And he was probably, at that time, one of the first Asian American hirees, if that happened, right?
Yeah, it would have been just before the war.
Dang.
See, my dad, remember, when he was young in school at Manual Arts, Disney was looking for artists.
Right.
And he had opportunities to work for Disney when Disney was just beginning, you know. But the war broke out, and he had to go to camp. So him and my mom and their parents had to go to Manzanar. Wow. So they stayed at Manzanar, which is, it's out in the desert there. They were grocers, so they had to close their business.
Oh, it's a shame. Dang.
Yeah. When they came back, I think they were there for 4 years or something like that.
4 years in Manzanar?
Yeah.
I saw that place. It's like desert and nothing. Zero.
Yeah.
Didn't you say too that he had a brother? That's something that I didn't know. Minoru. That's something I didn't know till like 3 years ago or 4 years ago. But he said he passed away in the camps, right?
Yeah.
Dang, that's crazy.
My dad says that Minoru was like a genius. Really a genius, but sickly.
Oh.
That type of thing.
Oh.
And so, yeah, he passed away in camp. Yeah.
my mom wanted to be a fashion designer. She started at this fashion school of design before camp. Then she went to camp, and then they stayed maybe less than a year in camp, and all the people that age had to go out and fulfill jobs that were vacated. And so my mom started babysitting, and then I think she somehow went to beautician school. So, it's sort of, you're transplanted and you just make the best of everything. So, and then once she finished that, she became a beautician. And at that time, my dad, I think he was working as a meat
Butcher.
What? Really?
Yeah, he was a butcher for a while in Ohio. This is the one story that he told a lot is because my dad in high school, his parents went back to Japan to possibly live.
Like when the boys here, when the Nisei boys finished high school, they would get shipped off to Japan, and then they kind of go to like
A military
I don't know what kind of school,
like a military school or something like that. Anyway, Dad went over there. They didn't stay long enough, and then he came back, and I guess they were working in the market. Yeah, working at the market. Went to camp, and when Dad was in Cleveland, he was pulled out of the military. I guess they were making some kind of
It was a defense factory. And he was sent to DC, and I don't think they gave him a one-way ticket there or whatever. No. It was like the government was looking into like the Nisei because he went to Japan.
Boys.
No, he wasn't a no-no.
Yes, he was.
He was not a no-no.
Yes,
he was like a yes-no or something like that.
No, he was a yes-no, but when he went back the following week, it was a no-no. And because of that, they sent him to D.C. to try to clear his name or whatever.
No, they were. See, the way I heard was they wanted to find out from Dad why they went to Japan and what he did in Japan.
Yeah,
Whether he was,
Yeah.
doing some kind of espionage. So Dad was totally. What he had told me was he was totally freaked out, and Uncle Moss went with him to Washington.
Well, he said when he got there, there were all white men there,
Of course.
and there was a file this high, just on me. Yeah, this like telephone book on the information that they had compiled on him. So anyway, they cleared him, and he said, so they had no money. He and Uncle Moss had hardly any money, just enough money to get him back to Cleveland. And so he said they were on the train. They must have looked so hungry that some of the servicemen there gave them a sandwich or something like that because my dad looked young. I mean, he had like a baby face. And so they felt sorry for him. And he goes, yeah, they gave us a sandwich to eat. And he thought that was very nice.
It's funny because throughout this whole thing, I came into this with the context of Grandpa makes funny pictures. That's the only frame that I had for Grandpa. So all of this, it's funny as you're progressing. He's like, yeah, and he wasn't just a grocer; he's also a butcher. Yeah, and then the FBI got involved, and then, and then I'm just like, what the heck did he do? Went to Cleveland? Wasn't he in California his whole life? He went to Cleveland? Like, what's going on?
Before, I would love to have some of that salmon sitting right there.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, here you go.
Thank you.
Everything is here for you guys. So
Thank you. I will take
Are
this
those
salmon.
Japanese hot dogs? You ever
I
watch
never had
Midnight
these
Diner
before.
on Netflix?
So the reason why I started this was because I'm in love with that show.
Oh, did you see how the little octopus?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I do
and
that.
I thought, where do you find those hot dogs?
I do that for Chupi and Milo, actually.
Oh.
And they're just like, hey, it's a little octopus.
Well, you know something? The kamamako corn dog.
Yes.
Ugh.
Oh.
Oh my God, it's so delicious.
It's okay? Okay, good.
So good.
Fantastic.
you know, the kind of stories, they don't give me negative stories. So they didn't come back really with a bad experience. I mean, it was just like a vacation, you know?
That's crazy. Wait, so their business closes down, but then they still have this crazy experience of going to Manzanar, and they come out of that and they're still feeling okay.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like, so like right now I'm doing my own business. If I had to close down my business and they're like, okay, you're gonna go into the desert for 4 years, I'd be like, I would be so upset. I would be like, I hate everything. This is terrible. So to hear someone from my lineage be like, oh, you know what, I'm not gonna take this hate. I'm gonna be happy after this. That's incredible. That is super cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but you have to remember the Iseis really ate it.
Yeah.
But the Niseis, my parents, were the ones who, you know, they were young enough to recover.
Oh,
You know.
I see.
Grandma used to say it was difficult for the Iseis.
Niseis, yeah.
And then for the Niseis, they were, you know, at an age where they probably felt like they had some freedom.
Yeah.
But plus, and even
Yeah.
if it was, they suffered or just it had a negative impact on their life, they just wouldn't talk about it because that's just.
No, they never did.
Yeah,
They talked about before camp or after camp. So when they talked about camp, I thought it was camping.
Oh.
You know, they didn't.
Yeah, but you know that's different because then you have you know people who are activists at that time.
Right.
Well, that's when I started finding out more about it in college. 'Cause
Yeah.
It was
after
bad?
Martin Luther King and then the Yellow Power, and
Yeah.
you started really finding out about
Yeah.
it at that time. But they never spoke
Do
about
you
it.
remember the days where kids were sitting around and he starts drawing pictures of us, like, you know, he does facial pictures, and it looks really good, you know, it's coming, then all of a sudden he goes into a mode and starts mutilating the pictures.
Oh, I know.
Putting big ears on it, you know, you
Yeah.
see
Buck
yourself,
teeth.
getting ugly.
I had the exact same experience. I'm like, Grandpa, draw me, and he was just like, all right, no problem. Here, give me a piece of paper. All right, you have a. This is the shape of your head. I'm like, cool. This is your hair and glasses, nose. Oh, okay, look, you're done. I'm like, that looks wonderful. Well, let me just see. What if you had these things coming out of your nose? And I was like, I don't have those.
A couple of flies
Yeah.
hanging around you.
You have a gap tooth. Let me just draw that in there. I'm like, I don't have a gap tooth. I don't have a gap tooth. And in the end, it's like, no, I don't look like that.
Band-aids all over you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, this.
But you can imagine when he's young, you know, he's high school and he's doing art, and then it's taken away from him because he has to go to camp. How that could have kind of went, you know, that whole artistic direction, he took it and started just kind of mutilating it up. By
Maybe, yeah.
mutilating the pictures, then, you know, facial pictures, you know. Oh, that looks really good.
I think he did it
All of
for
a
the
sudden,
laugh, though.
then
Yeah.
He put, you know, he put a beard on you.
Yeah. Dad was a pretty good comedian. He did things for a laugh. I mean,
He always made sure it was a little inappropriate.
he had fun.
Yeah, he definitely had fun.
It's like even in being in the camps, he didn't think of it as being imprisoned. He goes, that was the best time of my life. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to go to work. I didn't have to do anything. I don't have to cook, you know, and he was able to do the little carvings and
You know, I did remember when Grandpa was living down the block in that house. I remember there was a display case of all the little whittled deer.
Yeah.
I remember he, I was like, what's that? And it was like this glass box with like these little wooden deer. And you're like, oh yeah, Grandpa made that during his time in the concentration camps.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
What else do you do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very true.
I think he tried. He'd gotten his portfolio and he tried peddling it after the war, and nobody wanted to look at him because now there was racism, the Japs, you know, whatever. And then Disney was not interested. So I think for him, that was where he felt the racism. That at least that's what he had mentioned in our talks.
In his heart, he was an artist, but after the war, he had to survive. His dad was too old, so he had to go out and get a job. So, since they were in the market business, he knew the market business, and so he went into the produce business.
He went with his strengths, which was probably, giving a task and doing it really, really well. Not only was he a produce guy, he was really good at it. He made those stands look great. He knew how to organize it. He knew how to, he knew what to do.
He had a creative mind.
Yeah.
And he made it fun for himself.
And he increased their income. I mean, their...
Yeah, he did real well.
Then at nights he would spend 3 hours in his little studio like this, working on signage for his market.
Painted these huge signs.
Like big white paper and
Yeah.
Mainly for the
Watermelons,
grocery,
10 cents, things like that.
So after the war, he just had to find his way. Having a family, having kids, his mother, and then, he had to figure that out. So, of course, I was young. I didn't understand it. But today, as an adult, I think about it and I go, wow.
That's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
That is a huge sacrifice.
It's interesting because working at UCLA, just knew a lot of the nurses and stuff, and they knew about my oldest son, and they said, "Oh, so what? He's going to college," and they said, "Where is he going?" I said, "Oh, well, he's going to art school, and he's going to art college up in San Francisco." And they went, "You're going to let him go to art school?" I go, "Yeah, that's what he wants to do." And so many of them said, I wanted to study art, but my parents wouldn't let me and said I had to go into nursing. So that's what I did. And these weren't Japanese women. These were Hakujin women, And I went, really? Because our parents never said anything other than Mom wanted me to be a dentist instead of a pharmacist.
It's amazing that our family or our parents let go enough for us to be creative and find our, path, which allowed us to give our kids a little bit more.
I think Mom and Dad letting us do what we wanted to do is because they didn't have that choice. There was that time in the life. They didn't have that choice.
Yeah. I should have treated Mom a little bit nicer. I know. They were nice.
They were pushing me to be whatever I wanted to be. Sort of the dreams that they were working for, but they lost. So that was their motivation. So in the same way, I carry that motivation with me, and I pass it along to my kids. Because it's sort of in my DNA.
You've always said this throughout our whole lives. Like, I got to do what I want to do. I became a boss. Now it's your turn. You got to find what you want to do no matter what, and you become your own boss. Go ahead and pursue the thing that you want to do. And I always heard that, but I never connected it to the idea that Grandpa never got to do what he wanted to do. Because of where we're from, I'm able to pursue this. And not only am I able to pursue this, but I'm able to pursue telling the stories of how that has influenced me about the Japanese American culture, experiencing all of these stories and being able to now tell these stories, you know. I think that is so cool, and I'm just super grateful that you and Grandpa were able to do that, and I'm where I am today because of you guys.
Yeah, I feel like I've never had an opportunity to, thank Mom and Dad. And I guess this
Well,
is
you
the
know,
time to.
But I have to thank you, John, for bringing us all together because, we never really get a chance to talk about it because we're fiddling around with the grandkids and all of that. But really to bring back Mom and Dad and what they really did for us.
And who knows when we're going to see him again.
After the next pandemic.
Yeah.
Thank you again for coming here, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for the
Thanks for
meal.
inviting us.
Yeah.
And if it weren't for the Shokudo, you would not have heard a lot of these stories until.
Yeah, you created the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, hopefully this isn't the last time. This will be maybe the last time, maybe filmed, but hopefully you guys can come back and I can just keep making you stuff.
Oh yeah.
I really like that.
You don't have to make as much, though.
Thank you everyone for joining me as I learned about my family and realized how grateful I am to be here, talking to you, and being able to express myself through art and cooking. My family took something that could have derailed our hopes and dreams and figured out a way to deal with it our own Okeya way. I didn't have to go through the experience of internment myself, but I am who I am because of it. I am so glad that I heard this story while I still had the chance. And so, I encourage all of you to ask questions. Your family is probably different from mine, and you have your own stories yet to discover. Each of them are so valuable to our history and our community. And with that, thanks again so much for watching, and I'll see you next time, here in the Shokudo. I was actually really anxious in contacting you guys.
Because we don't hear from you for like.
Because of that.
How did you hone in on that so fast? That was like the fastest I've ever seen.
No, but what about this?
Is that from picking
But
up?
this is still, that's still